For the first time since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the United States has voted alongside Russia against a UN resolution condemning Russia's occupation of Ukrainian territory. What are the implications for the United States moving closer to Russia's position?
So for one, that U.S. position puts it in tension with most of Europe. And actually, if you look at the voting, it puts the U.S. position, in contrast to many countries, in fact, most countries in the world, largely because this idea of allowing, condoning, or being complicit with one actor seizing the territory of another is deeply worrying for many countries. But clearly, the US administration at present doesn't seem to really worry about that issue.
China abstained on this vote, which is something that they have done throughout the war. So, what are the implications now for the United States voting alongside Russia while China is remaining a partner with Russia, but not necessarily a warfare partner?
So I think it's this continued narrow path that the PRC has to navigate. So on the one hand, they obviously don't want to condemn Moscow because they have been cultivating this relationship between the PRC and Russia. But at the same time, if they voted to condemn Russian actions, um, that would also alienate them potentially from many members of the United Nations, which they have been trying also very hard to win over. Now, for the PRC's own position, clearly, if they are, voting against if they're voting against incursions and occupation, that would sort of be consistent um, with their position. If you see the PRC as trying to potentially take territory that they claim, but because Beijing likes to put itself in a more couch itself in a more defensive way, how it describes a lot of actions by others is to encroach on its territory. So clearly, to sort of put alongside positions that sort of condone or accept, even sort of passively, the taking of territory would also put Beijing in a fairly uncomfortable position.
What position is China in then if the United States actually does move closer to Russia on additional economic cooperation, such as mining and resource access?
So I suppose Beijing believes that its relationship with Moscow is robust enough to withstand some of that, but there are concerns that Russia might be less dependent on Beijing and therefore less, willing to help Beijing out on its claims. And also, if you see a Russia that is no longer as much of a challenge to the United States in Europe, that means potentially that the US is able to then move more of its resources to Asia and compete with the PRC. So that is something I think Beijing also worries about. So it has a pretty complicated calculus, is essentially what is going on.